What is up, guys? Welcome back to Coltown. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We are going to be ranking the best win conditions in Clash Royale. I do think there's a few flaws with this list, but not too many. In terms of just like it's missing Elixir Golem is the only really big one, and then I have a little bit of a argument about like what is and isn't a win condition. But for the most part, it's pretty accurate, and I'm gonna have a fun time doing this and going through with you guys. Oh, my shirt is actually from Kobe Bryant's sports facilities that we actually had the pleasure of visiting while I was on Complexity. We visited. They actually had an esports section, so in case anyone was gonna recognize that, I thought I'd point that out. And with that being said, let's get into the video. I don't know if I want to go down the list or I want to go worst to best. Maybe I'll go down the list so that it's not obvious what's going to be the best, in my opinion. So before we go on to talking about like what is and isn't a win condition, I would say to me these are all pseudo win conditions. Whoops, I reorganized it. Almost elite barbs too. And by pseudo win condition, I mean they can help you win and do damage to a tower, but they alone are not enough to be a win condition. So you can't run a deck like miner control, take out the miner and put it in a battle ram. That just doesn't work because it's too easy to stop. Battle ram capitalizes with opposite lane pressure. Same with these cards, and by punishing at low elixir. But they alone, like if you had a bandit cycle deck, if your opponent's good, you probably can't win. If you had a balloon cycle deck, however, you do kind of need miner too. But there's been balloon cycle decks that never use miner, just lumberjack. And lumberjack's on a win condition. So I would say and I also don't think maybe at really low ranks you can win with. I'm just gonna throw this here. Let's start off by throwing elite barbs and F. And I renamed the tiers to S plus, S, A, B, and F. I think it kind of goes from win condition wise. It goes from like this is pretty good to these are terrible. So elite barb is gonna start it off at F tier. Pretty justified. It's terrible, and it's really supposed to be more of a support card that kills tanks than it is a win condition, but because of the fast speed, people at lower ranks do use it as a win condition. Next up, let's just pick up wall breakers. I'm gonna put these in it's got to be one or the other, right? Like wall breakers are very, very good and quick cycle decks, high skill, they can kite things opposite lane. Currently I'm gonna put them in S plus, honestly. Maybe I'll have too many cards in the S plus territory, but it's really, really good because of the many things it can do. It's a 2 elixir punish. It's a good first play. It's not awkward to have in a deck. You can play it at almost any time. Like I can't play a golem at any time, but I can always play wall breakers. It can be used on defense as well. It can kite things opposite lane, which I guess you can kind of do that with like golem and giant, but not to the same degree. Let me think. So I definitely think that's S plus tier. And please give me comments and feedback about this. I would love to discuss this in the comments. It's really interesting. As a win condition, okay, let's go with rocket. You can cycle rockets like 2 at the end of the game, or maybe even 3. I wouldn't really consider it a win condition, so I'm not gonna be like fair. That's a spell. I would probably put rocket in either the A or S tier, but as a standalone win condition, which is how I'm ranking right now, I'm going to put it as like a B. Spell cycle is a thing that can be ran. It's not amazing, although some good players do make it work, like Ganon. And Expo rocket is almost like a rocket spell cycle deck, and mortar rocket is a thing. But it's somewhere between B and F in terms of as like a solo win condition. I don't think you should run it as your only win condition. Alright, so going on, let's go ahead and cover like Bandit. And so Bandit is an S plus card, but as a win condition, is it an S plus win condition? I wouldn't say so. If it was just like the strength of card, it's an S plus card. I'm gonna say A as a win condition, but let it be known that I think maybe not S plus, maybe S, but it's definitely up there. It's high skill. Well, I mean, I don't want to get into it, like what's high skill and what's not. But skillful players can make use of Bandit very well. knowing when to play it at low elixir. And I'm not even talking about using the dash, because that's kind of obvious, right? I'm talking about using it at low elixir and punishing well with it when your opponent has a bad hand. And going for dashes when you know they don't have a way to block it. Like getting your bandit to dash on a princess isn't necessarily like high skill, but playing your bandit to dash on the princess when you know they have no block in hand is somewhat skillful, because you're keeping track of rotation and know that. So I'm gonna go A tier on that as a win condition. Going on to Ghost, I'm gonna go B tier, kind of because like if I was just basing it off of like the strength of a troop, I would put like Bandit maybe S tier and Ghost A tier, because of the two, Bandit's better. They have different use cases, but Bandit is the better, like, more effective card and more decks, I would say. Ghost really only sees play in Pekka Bridge Spam, but Bandit sees play in lots of pressure decks that aren't Pekka Bridge Spam. And for good reason. Like, Ghost is unique, but since the nerf a while ago, he's still really good. He's just not as good as Bandit, I would say. Going on, I'm gonna put Battle Ram I would say Battle Ram is more of a win condition than Bandit, but I think in general Battle Ram is like somewhere between A and S tier. I mean, like if you point fingers at the Pekka Bridge Spam deck and watch really good right now, it's got to be Magic Archer. It's not these cards that need a potential nerf. It's Magic Archer. If the deck goes back to using minions, it goes from like an S+ tier deck to like an A tier deck, in my opinion. So I think Magic Archer in that deck and that archetype is what makes the deck like really strong right now. And it's only slightly strong, or slightly OP, I would say. I would say Magic Archer is the card that could use a nerf in that deck. But we'll put Battle Ram A tier, I guess. Moving on. I don't like doing this, but like Three Musks is F tier, I guess. I feel like it's more of a C. I would say it's more of a C, but I'm gonna put it F tier because it's pretty bad. And sorry about my voice. I'm a little bit sick. Again, which I usually don't get sick, but this time of the year, I guess I do. Anyway, this time, but it's not coronavirus, but just a cold. I hope. I'm pretty sure. I haven't been outside, so F tier for the Three Musks, I suppose. Three Musks are pretty weak. I do think they're viable though. So like I said, I don't really think they're F tier. I think they're more of like a C, but they're pretty easily abused. So we'll go F. If you do run them nowadays, I don't think you run Pump either, because Pump is pretty bad. But I think Pump when it's strong is kind of stupid, so I don't necessarily hate that it's bad. Moving on. Sparky, right? Sparky kind of doesn't... It only does well in ladder with like weird decks, but then in competitive it always has more like well-rounded decks, but they don't work in ladder as much because they're just not that strong, I guess. So, in the swarm decks that make it on ladder, it's obviously good. I feel like you put it in B. It's somewhere between B and A in my opinion, but I'm going to go B. It's very strong and it's very scary, and it can be... I almost want to put it in A, but I'm going to leave it B. Just because I feel like on ladder it doesn't do as well as it does in competitive. Of course, that's an entirely, like, subjective point of view, I guess. But as to why I'm ranking it there. But I'm going to go with that. Let's go to... Miner. Miner's S+. Miner's S+ because you can use it in freaking everything. It's so good. And it's, at the same time, I would never want it to be nerfed. I mean, as you can see, right, like Miner Wall Breakers is probably... Actually, I say Pekka, Magic Archer goes in S+ tier if it's... And it's on a win condition. Well, if you're ranking these as win conditions, you can almost... I would almost say these cards are less of win conditions than Magic Archer. And Magic Archer's S+ tier. Above these two that I've already placed, I would say. But you can see why, like, Wall Breakers Miner, Magic Archer has several different variations in his a top deck. I would put all of those cards in S+ tier. And then the rest of the cards would be, like, A or B, probably. Like, Bomb Tower and Bats and Skellies are, like, A tier. But, like, those three cards, S+. And that's why they're in so many decks. There could be an argument made that, like, these two cards could both be S instead of S plus, but I just think of because of their versatility, I'm gonna put them S plus. I wouldn't say their strength of like damage and like power puts them S. Their versatilities are S plus. I'm saying their versatility makes them S plus. So moving on. Royal Hogs B tier. After its buff, maybe A or S tier. Because if you guys know, I released a update video earlier today. I would say Royal Hogs maybe moving up to like A tier, but prior to the balance change, I'm gonna put them B tier. They're pretty weak, and Bomb Tower and Magic, or not Magic Archer really, but Bomb Tower's meta, and it's pretty good against them. Fireballs still fairly common, and if you split them, they just aren't that big of a threat. And they just, ever since their nerf, they aren't quite as good. I do think they were nerfed, right? Or was it just the meta? They were nerfed, I'm pretty sure. Let me know in the comments. But they're currently B tier. Okay, Skeleton Barrel, I didn't even notice this was on here. But I suppose it is a win condition. I almost forget about it. It's really only viable in the 1 Mega Knight deck, in which it's a pretty good. And it synergizes with other bait cards. But standalone and just in general, it's terrible. And I don't know that I hate it being terrible. I feel like Graveyard is a similar concept, but more well executed. Skeleton Barrel is just kind of meh. I don't think it should be strong though, because that kind of gameplay is kind of gross. I think Goblin Barrel is a better example of like a healthy bait card that's strong, or not strong, but a healthy bait card that can be strong. I don't know. Skeleton Barrel is kind of whack in design, but it's terrible. So F tier. RG. I'm gonna go A tier on RG. It's in this range, right? Not S tier. It's A or B. It's A or B, but I'm gonna go A. It's fairly strong still, and it always comes back into meta, but it's kind of weak right now. Like the very best RG players can kind of make it work top ladder, but it goes back and forth between them, like not even being able to play RG because it isn't all that amazing. And I see the top RG player, Bob the Rock, comes to mind. He complains a lot about Mini P.E.K.K.A being strong in this meta, which it is. And what was the other one? I think just Magic Archer. He just complained about Magic Archer because it's not an RG and it's OP in general. I think that's what it was. But Mini P.E.K.K.A very good against it. And in general, it's strong, but it goes between the weaker stages. It's not OP and it's not super consistent, I would say, compared to these guys. Or even the type of deck that runs these, I would say. Because there's quite a lot of Bandit decks that are really good. Oh, and the one card we're missing is Elixir Golem. After its nerf, which I think was justified, I would put Elixir Golem somewhere between A and B. Some people still do really well with it on ladder. I would put it somewhere between A and B. Maybe A, or maybe like B plus in the middle. Okay, going on. I'll do so. All the things I said about RG kind of apply to Lava Hound too. I would say Lava Hounds maybe use it a little bit more and it has a little bit more variation, so maybe it's slightly better than RG. But I don't know if I don't have anything in S tier right now, but I don't think I bump it up to S tier. I think it's A. And dang, I'm gonna have a lot of A cards. It's weird that I have a gap there between S. I'm gonna go maybe S tier on Balloon. Balloon Cycle is super viable right now, and it always is. And then some Lava Balloons are still viable. Some people that like one-trick Lava Balloon still play Lava Balloon. With Lava Balloon Miner sometimes even. A lot of them do run that, so I would say that's in that tier. A Balloon's very solid. Very hard to stop. Really consistent. At threatening the tower is what I mean. Consistent at threatening the tower. Moving on. I kind of want to put Expo in S tier because people are always doing well with it that one trick it. But I feel like it's A tier because it's easier to counter than like say Mortar. I feel like Mortar is more versatile in matchups. So I feel like Mortar's S tier and Expo's A tier. Because the people who are doing consistently well with it do just really practice it and have it down to a T. And it's pretty hard to play off of. I mean, so is Mortar. But I would say Mortar has more variance and more versatility that make it always good than Expo. So I'm going to put Mortar in S tier. And you still have to be insanely good with Mortar and Expo. I don't love Expo, but it is, I mean, people always like high skill, and that's a debate in its own, but it is fairly hard to play well, and I would say A tier. S tier from Warner. Graveyard right now is better than it has been in the past. I kind of want to put it S tier just so I have more S tiers, but it's between S and A for sure. And I would say RG, not RG, but Lava could potentially be S tier as well, but I'm gonna leave it there. And I'm gonna put Graveyard S tier. It's the Splash Yard Bomb Tower deck is very good right now, and there's always a freaking ton of variants of Graveyard. Any card getting a buff can potentially make a Graveyard card. Graveyard is not versatile in the way that Miner is, but it's versatile in that it works with a lot of different support cards. If Valk's OP, if Knight's OP, if Ice Golem's OP, if Barb Barrel's OP, if even like Snowball sometimes is OP, those can all be used in Graveyard. Lots of different other troops: Electro Wizard, Ice Wizard, Musketeer, Poison. Not really Fireball, but Freeze, Night Witch, even when it was strong, can all be used in Graveyard. So like it has versatility in that it can kind of take on any strong or overwhelming support troop and include that in its deck. While that the same isn't true of like bridge spam decks or like RG, like they need kind of specific supports. I would say that the supports in Graveyard can be pretty versatile. So whatever's strong at the moment can kind of meld itself into a Graveyard deck, and that's what makes Graveyard somewhat versatile, I would say. In some ways, Mortar is similar. Like, it has a little bit more limitation, though, I would say. Okay, moving on. I don't know. I feel like Giant is better than Goblin Giant right now, so I don't want to put them in the same tier. I don't know if it's deserved to put Giant in S tier. I feel like it's more of an A. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it in A tier, and I'm going to put Goblin Giant in B tier. Goblin Giant, just lesser used right now. Like, less tanky, a little bit faster moving. The Spirit Goblins are nice, but they're not amazing. So it's going to be B tier, and it's going to be A tier. And I almost, like I said, I almost want to put Giant S tier and Goblin Giant A tier, but I'm going to go A tier on Giant. Okay, and it's used in more decks. Like it can be used in Giant Graveyard and Giant Miner and just Giant Princes with no Miner. So I would say it's got a little bit more usage than a Goblin Giant that is really only used as Sparky, because they're kind of synergy between like DPSing stuff down quickly, but it's more expensive, and I think Giant is just a little bit better, So next up, for ease of usage, I almost want to put Golem S tier. Like, it has a low skill floor, but a high skill ceiling, and it's hard to play top ranks. I'm going to go A tier on that, too. It's just not quite as good, in my opinion. And quite good enough to make it S tier. And, of course, you can start at first play and it be somewhat viable. Not that that really factors in. I just think in terms of, like, the first things I mentioned, it's an A tier card. Okay, so Goblin Barrel. Goblin Barrel's B tier. If you're really, really good at it, which is true of like all these cards in B tier, if you're really, really good at it, you can be top with it. I almost want to put it A tier. Maybe like you don't see that much Goblin Giant Royal Hogs. You see like 2 or 3 people top 200 with Royal Hogs. You see like, I don't know, maybe only 2 or 3 people with Goblin Barrel. There's a couple different variants of Goblin Barrel, so it's like a B plus to me. But I want to put it in a B because there's too many things in A. Ram Rider is gonna be another A in my opinion. It's the same case as like Goblin Barrel, less Goblin Giant and Royal Hogs, maybe less so than Goblin Barrel, and these aren't really like win conditions in my opinion. And like that's not a win condition really. But anyway, I would say A tier for Ram Rider. Yeah, A tier. Because it's more of like a beatdown card. It's less versatile. I think Hog is kind of slightly better than Ram Rider, honestly. No, not F tier. Oh, but it won't let me bring it back down. This is controversial because I really think Hog is more of an A tier, but I'm going to put an S tier to fill out the S tier. No, not just that. But Hog is like, this is not 2.6 Hog. 2.6 Hog is a B deck. Or like, maybe even like a C deck. This is for Hog Earthquake. and the different hog variants that become possible. This is more of an A card, but I'm gonna put an S tier because I want to, and I want the debate. I want the debate in the comments. This is more of an A tier deck, but I'm gonna put it in S tier, and let me know what you think. But it always stays viable. Different variants always arise. Like Hog Earthquake will be like several people top 200 with it. It's very good. And so candidates for like S tier, this could be an A tier, but other candidates for S tier are like all of these, in my opinion. I don't think Golem is an S tier card. I think maybe Lava Hound. Lava Hound's more versatile than Golem, in my opinion. So is Giant. Not Ram Rider, I don't think. I think Ram Rider is good in A tier. I kind of like Expo in A tier too. But this is also weird because I don't know. It's my own criteria, I guess, and I've kind of said it throughout the video. But I also don't think miners should get a nerf. Maybe wall breakers could get a small nerf. And I don't think any of these cards really need a nerf. I would say win conditions are very well balanced at the moment. It's the support cards that could use a nerf. Like Magic Archer could use a nerf. Maybe like Bomb Tower could use a nerf. See, NATO is kind of strong, but it's like, I don't think you should. There's no way you can nerf NATO and it be healthy. I think NATO is a fairly healthy card. Maybe just nerf the support. Musketeer is slightly strong, but 3 Musk is crap. So it's like, how do you nerf that? But what else? As a card, as a support card, like I said, I think the game's pretty well balanced right now. I'm just swiping through the cards on my phone. I don't know. I think Firecracker's fairly well balanced. Maybe Firecracker could receive a nerf if they make it to where it doesn't activate King Tower. Because it's still good even though it does activate King Tower, so that means it's strong. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Anyway, with the balance change, they obviously didn't nerf anything because other than Magic Archer, I don't think there's any obvious candidates. Besides like, oh, I use this deck and this card counters me, so please nerf that card. Like that's how people kind of think. And I made a joke post about Twitter on that recently, but I don't think that's a justified way of thinking about how cards should be nerfed. But yeah, this is my final ranking on all the win conditions and how good they are. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Tell me how your list would differ from mine. Of course, it differs based on like what trophy range you are and many different factors. So yeah, let me know. Let's have a discussion in the comments, and please use creator code ColtonW83 and check out my other social media, is always linked in the description below. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching, and peace.